Zlatan gets ready to take the deciding penalty. His shot is so powerful that it tears through the net, sends the ball flying into the sky, and makes it explode like fireworks. After the match, TV host Rob talks about the Star Cup, the tournament that will determine the greatest star of all time. He then decides to interview a few spectators to hear their expectations. The first person he meets is a completely eccentric man named Weird Al, who confidently claims that by the end of the tournament, he will be the new star. He explains that, thanks to his advanced knowledge of genetics, it is possible to absorb some of the world's best players' talent and implant it into someone else, creating a level of skill never seen before. Intrigued, Rob asks if that's really possible. Weird Al replies that the theory is the subject of his doctorate and that he has spent years researching it. Thinking the idea is completely ridiculous, Rob decides to keep looking for other opinions in the crowd. He soon spots a mysterious figure wearing a long black coat who appears to be a fan of Megan, one of the tournament's guest stars. However, he quickly discovers that it's actually 4 teenagers hiding under the same coat. Their plan is to sneak into the locker room so they can meet Megan. As they make their way through the stadium, the group comes across Zlatan showing off some impressive ball tricks. Zana, the team's goalkeeper, decides to try stopping one of his bicycle kicks. Impressed, Zlatan congratulates her and tells her she has talent, just not as much as he does. At that moment, Nautai steps out of hiding and challenges him to a freestyle competition. Confident as ever, Zlatan replies that he's a professional soccer player and can't compete against a little girl. But Nautai immediately teases him, asking if he's afraid of losing. With his pride on the line, Zlatan accepts the challenge. He starts by juggling the ball and even keeps it floating in the air by blowing on it with incredible lung power, leaving everyone amazed. Except Nautai. When it's her turn, she puts on an unbelievable performance. She begins by juggling the ball, then controls 3 soccer balls at the same time while mixing in juggling tricks and breakdancing moves, leaving Zlatan completely speechless. Curious, Zlatan asks how they managed to get inside. Odang explains that they're part of a street soccer team and had been saving money for a long time to attend the Star Cup. After months of hard work, they finally saved enough, only to find out the tickets were already sold out when they went to buy them. Impressed by the group's talent and dedication, Zlatan decides to give them 4 tickets to the final, leaving all of them completely stunned. He then asks them to wait for him and heads into the locker room. There, he finds a gift box with his name on it. Excited, he opens it, convinced he'll find a jetpack inside. But when he discovers it's just an ordinary soccer ball, he kicks it into the trash before walking over to the mirror to fix his ponytail. Suddenly, something inside the trash can begins to glow. Zlatan walks over to investigate and notices that the ball is giving off a strange green light. The moment he touches it, the stitching splits open and a sticky green slime shoots straight onto his face, knocking him backward. Once he recovers from the shock, he takes another look and discovers a strange green slug with a radioactive appearance lying next to the ball. At first, he thinks it's cute and even asks what its name is. But he quickly realizes the creature is furious and it starts chasing him all around the locker room. Meanwhile, outside, Odang hears Zlatan screaming and rushes in to see what's happening, only to find the strange creature already attached to the soccer player's back. Desperate, Odang tries to warn Zlatan about the creature, but it's already too late. The slug bites his ponytail and begins taking control of his body, transforming him into a super-powered mutant completely out of control. Zlatan smashes through the locker room wall and escapes, leaving the 4 teenagers deeply worried. Odang calls the police to explain what happened, but since no one believes that a radioactive slug turned Zlatan into a mutant, he decides they'll have to capture him and turn him back to normal on their own. Palio is scared and tries to convince his friend to give up the plan, but since the girls agree with it, he reluctantly joins the mission. As they walk through the trailers, Nautai finds a soccer ball and starts taking shots at the goal, but Zana blocks every single one. Suddenly, Zlatan appears and ruins the fun by destroying the ball with a single kick, completely out of control. The monster begins smashing everything around him, catching the attention of an elderly woman who, annoyed by the noise, tells him to be quiet. Furious, Zlatan tries to jump through her window, but instead crashes into the clothesline on the balcony, which acts like a giant slingshot and launches him high into the air. Since they need to catch him, the 4 teenagers put on their exterminator uniforms and set off to chase Zlatan all across the city. Meanwhile, Weird Al prepares another one of his mysterious soccer balls when he hears Rob on the radio talking about Zlatan's mutation. Proud of his invention, he calls into the show using a disguised voice to brag about his genius. He reveals that Zlatan was only the first, because he will soon obtain the abilities of every soccer superstar. He already has several boxes ready to be delivered all over the city. At the same time, Megan is training with her dog when someone leaves a package at her front door. She opens it, convinced it's a jetpack, but is disappointed to find nothing more than an ordinary soccer ball. Without paying any attention to the gift, Megan continues playing with her dog, but behind her, Weird Al's ball suddenly splits open and the slug catches the dog's curiosity. While Megan isn't looking, the creature bites the poor dog on the head, making it let out a painful yelp. Startled, Megan throws the radioactive slug as far away as she can. The dog runs out of the house while the soccer player is attacked by the creature. After a hard struggle, she manages to throw it against a wall and rushes to help her pet, but that gives the slug enough time to hide inside the chandelier. Meanwhile, in downtown, the teenagers continue searching for Zlatan, unaware that he's watching them from the top of a building. Tired of walking, Nautai decides to sit down on the sidewalk to rest and accidentally activates her fart cushion. Unbelievably, the sound causes Zlatan to return to his human form, without any of them realizing he's right above them. A little later, the four continue walking when Odang receives a call from Megan, who tells them about the green slug hidden inside the soccer ball she received. Realizing it's the exact same problem, the group immediately rushes off to help. Meanwhile, Zlatan decides to find out who sent him the mysterious gift, so he walks into the first store he sees to ask for a phone. Unfortunately, by pure bad luck, he ends up inside a prank shop instead. There, the shopkeeper activates a fart pad, causing Zlatan to transform back into his lizard-like form. Before he completely loses control, he makes an enormous effort and manages to keep at least one finger human, allowing him to preserve his consciousness as he continues searching for the person who sent him the mysterious gift. He then heads toward Megan's mansion. Nautai and the others hear Megan screaming and decide to climb over the wall to help her. Once inside, they find the soccer star hiding behind a statue. When she sees the teenagers, Megan tells them to leave because the place isn't safe, and explains that she's waiting for a team of exterminators. At that moment, the slug appears on top of the statue, and the kids reveal that they're the exterminators who came to deal with the problem, leaving Megan completely shocked. Suddenly, the slug lets out a high-pitched screech that paralyzes everyone before leaping onto Megan's back and taking control of her body right in front of the teenagers. Once the transformation is complete, Megan turns into a mutant just like Zlatan and starts destroying everything in her path. She first throws Nautai into a fountain and then tries to finish her off. Next, she climbs onto a statue and begins spitting acid. When she fails to hit Nautai, she rips the statue's head off and hurls it at the group, knocking them all down before using the opportunity to escape. Meanwhile, Zlatan continues searching for the person responsible for his transformation when he suddenly discovers that his ponytail has come to life. The hair tells him that Weird Al is behind everything and warns him not to confront him. But Zlatan ignores the warning and forces his way into the scientist's laboratory. When he finally finds Weird Al, Zlatan demands an explanation. The scientist reveals that he discovered a way to extract a person's talent, although the process has the side effect of turning people into those strange creatures. It's all part of his plan to win the Star Cup. Hearing this, Zlatan charges at him, but Weird Al greets him with a powerful kick. Thanks to the talents he has already stolen from several soccer stars, he now fights better than any professional player. He easily defeats Zlatan and leaves him chained up. With Zlatan unable to move, the scientist starts beating him while explaining that once he removes the slug, Zlatan will lose all of his talent and never play soccer again. Finally, Weird Al grabs a pair of tweezers and searches for the creature until he finds it hiding inside Zlatan's ponytail. At that moment, the slug suddenly pops out and starts repeatedly slapping the scientist across the face. Instead of being frightened, Weird Al is thrilled to see how successful his creation has become and decides to implant a slug into himself to gain the same power. He grabs a pair of scissors and lunges at Zlatan, but the living ponytail springs into action, keeping him from getting close and even knocking the scissors out of his hands. Even so, Weird Al refuses to give up. He grabs a bone saw and finally cuts off Zlatan's ponytail. The moment it's separated from his head, Zlatan turns back into a normal human, but he's so weak that he can barely stay on his feet. Weird Al then explains that all of the talent in Zlatan's legs has been transferred into the ponytail, and now it belongs to him. As the villain celebrates his victory, the living ponytail starts moving again, slips out of his hands, jumps onto a shelf, and begins throwing objects at him. It then knocks him to the floor and even lands several punches on his face. Fed up with the situation, Weird Al throws a few smoke bombs and uses the confusion to recover the ponytail and attach it to his own head. Instantly, he takes on the same mutant appearance Zlatan had, along with an unbelievably absurd level of skill. Meanwhile, downtown, the teenagers continue searching for Megan when the mutant suddenly ambushes them from above and starts spitting acid to pin them down. The group pulls out their stun batons and charges them to maximum power, but Megan is much faster. In the blink of an eye, she grabs Odang and hurls him into his friends, knocking the entire team unconscious with a single attack. With everyone on the ground, Megan slowly walks toward Nautai. The girl freezes, terrified that her idol will be hurt. Odang grabs a stun ball and tries to throw it at the mutant, but it slips from his hand and falls into a storm drain. Desperate, he grabs a traffic barrier and charges at the creature, managing to shove her into a dumpster. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he grabs another stun ball and gets ready to throw it, but Megan breaks free and bends Odang's body until he turns into a soccer ball. With him out of the fight, Megan once again approaches Nautai. The girl trips over the curb and falls backward, landing right on her fart cushion. Instantly, Megan returns to her human form and collapses unconscious from exhaustion. That's when the group realizes that somehow the sound reverses the mutation. Now that they know the solution, the exterminators remove the slug from Megan's body and decide to check whether the other Star Cup players have also been infected. To do that, Nautai and Paleo head to the stadium with Megan, while Xana and Odang go looking for Zlatan. With only 1 hour left before kickoff, the first group arrives at the locker room, where Nautai explains how they'll identify the slugs. After checking the first player and confirming he's not infected, they examine the next player. She immediately transforms into a mutant and destroys the fart cushion Nautai is carrying, making it impossible to turn her back to normal. To help her, Megan grabs a sturdy broomstick and confronts the creature. While the mutant is distracted, spinning the broom between her hands, Nautai quickly pulls out a spare fart cushion and makes it squeak, instantly returning the player to normal. With only 10 minutes left before the match begins, Xana and Odang find Zlatan sitting on a sidewalk, crying, and try to cheer him up. When nothing works, they decide to help him train so he can regain his skills. Xana stands in the goal and asks Zlatan to shoot with all his strength. However, despite being a professional soccer player, he can't even hit the target. Even so, Zlatan refuses to give up and keeps training alongside the teenagers. Little by little, he regains his form until he's playing just like before and finally feels ready for the match. Grateful for their help, Zlatan invites Xana and Odang to watch the final, and the three of them head to the stadium, where everything is ready for kickoff. Meanwhile, in the locker room, Megan announces that it's time to take the field. Since 4 players from the All-Star team never showed up, she invites the 4 exterminators to take their places and hands them brand new uniforms. With the match about to begin, Zlatan and his team walk onto the field as the crowd welcomes them with a huge ovation. Just then, Weird Al appears in the middle of the stadium and shows off all the abilities he's stolen with an incredible freestyle performance. He then snatches the microphone from Rob and challenges Zlatan's team to an all-or-nothing match. The scientist declares that if the heroes win, he'll return everyone's stolen talent to its rightful owners. But if the All-Star team loses, he'll steal their abilities as well. After everyone accepts the challenge, Weird Al calls in his team of mutant slugs and takes his place at midfield. With everything set, Rob introduces both teams, and the referee blows the whistle to start the match. Zlatan kicks the ball off and passes it to Odang. The two work their way up the field with a series of great passes until they reach the opponent's penalty area. But just as Zlatan is about to shoot, the slugs take control of the ball and launch a dangerous counterattack. Zlatan slides in to win the ball back and immediately starts another attack for the All-Star team. However, Weird Al finally joins the action, steals the ball, and scores the opening goal almost entirely by himself. Xana can't do anything to stop him, and with one powerful shot after another, the scientist extends the lead until the score reaches 3-0. At that moment, Zlatan dribbles past several of the mutant slugs and scores the All-Star team's first goal. Even so, Weird Al continues dominating the match, scoring again and again, even when Odang tries to stop him. With the score now 7-1, the All-Star team refuses to give up and keeps fighting. They try different plays until they finally score their second goal. Trying to close the gap even further, Megan drives into the penalty area but loses possession. Refusing to quit, She chases down the mutant player, wins the ball back, and slams him into the sideline barrier. Despite Weird Al's incredible talent, the All-Star team finally begins to fight back. Zana even manages to block several of his shots, and little by little, they catch up on the scoreboard. With the game tied 7-7 and only 30 seconds remaining, Zlatan steals the ball from Weird Al and races all alone toward the opposing goal. Standing right in front of the net, he flicks the ball into the air and unleashes a shot so powerful that it blasts straight through the goalkeeper. Tears open a massive crater in the stadium and wins the match for the All-Star team. After Weird Al's defeat, the living ponytail decides to act on its own and absorbs all the talent the scientist had stolen, leaving him completely exhausted. Now possessing the abilities of every soccer star, the living ponytail transforms into a gigantic larva with a scorpion-like body and devours all the other slugs on the field, becoming even more powerful. Realizing the disaster he has unleashed, Weird Al tries to talk the creature into abandoning its plans with a fake heartfelt speech. But the monster pays no attention to him and ends up devouring its own creator. The creature then invites Zlatan to join it, promising that together they would be unstoppable. When Zlatan refuses, the monster decides to devour him as well. Furious, Odang stands up to the creature and demands that it let his friend go. The distraction gives Megan the perfect opportunity to deliver a powerful kick that strikes the monster directly in the eye, leaving it completely blind. Taking advantage of the opening, the four teenagers rush toward the scorpion's stinger, planning to make it inject itself with its own venom. Before they can pull it off, however, Zlatan tears a hole through the creature's abdomen and climbs out completely unharmed, defeating the monster once and for all. With the threat finally gone, the four friends celebrate their victory. Not only have they won the Star Cup, but they've also become friends with some of the biggest soccer stars in the world.